Spencer. We're swapped around again.
Huh?
We're swapped around again.
Yep, I know you do it on purpose.
There we go. Hey, y'all. Hold on. Since Squirrel's not here, let me pull up everything. Oh, wow. 25 people, and considering we just did this 5 minutes ago.
No doubt. Running behind.
I'm sorry. We weren't necessarily going to go live today. We don't have a guest, but we made an open show. There is a link. Hold on. Let me do it like this. I posted it earlier, but I'm posting it right now in the comments. There is a link there. There is a link under the description for the show. And there's a link on the Facebook page, which I didn't plaster it all over Facebook today because we just went live. We just talked about it a few minutes ago. And actually, House was on point, and he had to call me because I was busy doing stuff. I was barbecuing and working on the camper, and I didn't realize what time it was. But, hey, everybody. How are y'all? If anybody has anything they want to talk about, in fact, if anybody has any questions or just anything that they want to talk about, make a comment about it. If you want to hear, like, House go into some of his stuff, if you want to go back in time and let him go into detail about some of his stuff, ask it. Yeah. I know I can be late if it's barbecue. Thank you, Miss V. By the way, Miss V, hold on, let me put your comment up there. I need a link for your channel, Vicky, so I can promote it. But also, the show you did with Mark Green and the show you did with Rebecca Green was killer. Was absolutely excellent. I love the kind of family theme that you got going on. Absolutely love it. And at some point, if you want, we'd like to have you on here. Just, just to talk one podcaster to another and Bigfoot people to other Bigfoot people. Anyway, there's Bam. The link is in the comments. If anybody wants to jump on, please do. If you have anything in particular that you want to talk about, Abby jumped on.
Hey, look at there.
Hi, baby.
There's my baby, darling. Baby, turn your phone sideways. Turn your phone.
It ain't working. Hang on.
Yeah,
What?
I can see you.
Yeah,
What?
turn.
Turn your volume up.
Look, I'm upside down now.
I can see you're fine. You're looking just right.
No,
Thank
she
you,
ain't sideways. Turn it back.
Gary Spikes, how you doing? How you doing? Hi, Hillary. Schilling. The old man is in the chat.
No. Hey,
yes,
Abby.
yes, 3D Havoc. You have to turn it sideways whenever you're logging in because it kind of locks in the camera and the microphone.
No.
If you want, you can go back out and turn it sideways and then come back in. Then it should work. That's up to you.
Okay. I'll try that.
Abby is gorgeous. Abby is our official mascot. But then again, she's the mascot for a bunch of different Bigfoot groups at this point. Everybody just loves Abby. So
Y'all, it amazes me. 12 years old, and she's a darn moderator on 5 different podcasts. 5. I reckon she took it to heart. Gary Spikes is her hero because she's trying to be like Gary and be a moderator for every podcast he can find.
yeah, I know it, Billy. Hi, Phyllis. Where's John? Tell John we said hi. Phyllis is always in the chat. Never see
Yep.
John.
No, John's in there some, but that Phyllis she's there like all the time.
Hey, y'all, I jump on, but only if I can do the entire show upside down. Hillary, you can come on at any point because I'm waiting to rake your ass across the coals for your undying support of Squirrel. You can come on and be upside down. It's perfectly fine with me.
She can be upside down. We'll even turn her head sideways.
Yeah, every time we talk to her.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so guys, this is going to be an impromptu show, I guess, unless we get more people on or serious questions in there. Thank you, Diane. Miss Diane posted the link to Not So Perfect Bigfoot show.
Awesome.
I'll make a banner for you and we'll throw it up next time. Diane, thank you. You're awesome. Appreciate it. Appreciate all the moderators and everybody in chat. Katie G is in there. Katie, today would be a good time for you to come on and talk about your stuff, Miss I don't ever want to go public and share anything.
Yeah. I mean, Katie, come on now. You got to jump in here with us. You're part of the family now. You got to, might as well. The water's fine. Come on in.
Robert, my stuff is boring compared to like Greg and most other people. We'll go over it at some point. And I'm going to be on, there she is. I'm going to be on Bigfoot Society here soon. I'm sure I'll have to go over all of the stuff from the beginning again.
Yeah. Well,
There's
Abby, I want to ask Abby a question. Abby, how excited are you about the meet and greet?
Really excited.
Really excited.
Would you rather go to the meet and greet or go to Disneyland?
Meet and greet.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
You should see some of the stuff I ordered. Everybody's generous donations. Told you I'd use it for the meet and greet. You should see some of the stuff I ordered for the raffle at the meet and greet. Gonna be some good stuff. And Abby, you are so not in charge of handing out the tickets. And if Patrick Noble comes up, I will take his money and I will give him the tickets. There's some kind of shady like Las Vegas thing going on with Patrick and Abby.
Yeah, I think Patrick must have slipped her a 20 before Abby went to throw the names out.
Gary said I'll have the tickets again. We'll see about that. You and Abby are not a good team. Patrick won 50 damn items.
No.
Yeah, we'll post. I think actually, Miss V, I'm pretty sure that there's decent cell phone signal there, and we'll probably go live several times while we're there on this one. And for everybody that doesn't know, can y'all give me about 45 minutes to get home? I'll come in. Maybe if we're still going 45 minutes from now, Katie.
Shoot, yeah. We'll hang out if Katie's going to come on.
But yeah, we'll try to wait for you. Hold on, y'all. Calm down. It's just me reading the questions and trying to host. Calm down. The question is for anyone who has had encounters. At any point, did you question your mental health? I can tell you that the first time my shit happened, I thought for sure everybody was just messing with me until it actually popped off. And then it was just so damn weird. I knew that it wasn't anybody else because I could see all them. They were standing around me. But does it make you question your mental function? Like, are you reading too much into it, going crazy? Yes, it does. Except for when it really happens, for real, you know that it's happening and there's no doubt in your mind in that moment. Then later on, you go back and you question yourself again. But yeah, it weighs on you mentally.
What really helps with that, what massively helps with that, is when you're having an experience and you're not alone. There's somebody there with you, and then you can talk and discuss it with them, or just even if they didn't. But if you've got somebody else that's experienced the same thing and you find that person to talk to, somebody you can confide in that's been through the same stuff, that
Hey,
helps. That helps tremendously. Tremendously.
Yes. Yes. Putting in some. Hey, Pyro, are you coming? Are you coming, Pyro? That'd be awesome if you do.
I think Pyro's coming. I hope he is.
And I saw a couple people. We'll talk about the meet and greet for a minute, but I saw a couple people saying, "What are the dates and like what is the time? Can you get there early?" Number one, if you see this show and you're just like in YouTube and you're not ever in the chat, you're not a member of Facebook. If we don't know you, you have to come on Facebook or email us so that we can account for you coming to the show. It's nothing personal, but it's kind of a smaller area than anything like LBL or anything like that. And we have to know who's coming. So you have to come on and ask to come. Having said that, for everybody that's already coming, the official dates are going to be a Friday, Saturday, Sunday at the beginning of October. But if you want to show up early, you can show up early, a day or two ahead of time. But whenever we all get there, we may arrange things. We may move people to make it so that it works for everybody getting in there. You understand what I'm saying? So if you get there early and you set up camp and then we all show up, you might have to move because we've got to do like certain ones of us being near each other to have everything organized. But you can show up early if you want to.
To really set up the camp, it being that big of a camp with that many people, we got to kind of have like where I'm going to be doing the cooking. We want it close, and like the people that's going to really
in order to do the raffle, the food, the group picture, setting up the microphones for like storytelling and all that kind of stuff. We have to have most of us that are doing that all in one centralized area. So if we have one or two people that are right in the middle of that, if we can get around you, that'd be fine. But if everybody's kind of in the way and we've got to get all of us in the same spot, then somebody may have to move. But yes, you can show up early.
Yeah. And really, I mean, I'm planning on being there like on Thursday. Wanda and Abby, unless things change, they'll be down Friday. But
yes, the cinnamon apple barbecue sauce is awesome. Sorry, carry on, Greg.
No,
he was talking about barbecue sauce, and it was important, and he wasn't talking about white sauce, so I had to jump on that and post it.
Oh my gosh. Abby loves white sauce, don't you, baby?
Yes, it's very delicious.
I ain't saying nothing. She's your kid.
Man.
Mr. Raines, good show last night, by the way, brother.
Yep. Look, there's Robbie.
Robbie, I wish you were coming to this damn thing. You and DA both. Man. It's going to be a good time.
I wish it would have worked out for him. I ain't no joke, but I know Robbie said they've got to be in like Ohio or somewhere the next weekend.
Yeah. We got to get Mark. I don't know if we'll do a show before the meet and greet or while we're there at the meet and greet, since we're going to kind of have like the microphones and speakers set up. We may just let him talk about it while we're there and go live. But for everybody that sees this, if you're not familiar with the area that we're going to in Talladega National Forest, it's a specific spot that has quite a long history of activity. Everything from abandoned tents to people recording audio and taking pictures there, tracks being found, all kinds of stuff like that. But also some of the more scary, impressive things. It's been documented 2 or 3 things right there, right in the campground or in the woods adjacent to the campground, and then right there within a mile of the campground, 2 or 3 things, including, if you ask Mark Green, some person that was supposedly killed, neck broke and twisted in half, laying at the bottom of a stand, a climbing stand, I think it was, right there in that area. It's a good spot. It's a really good spot. It's definitely more remote than LBL. LBL has become really popular, and a lot of people want to go to LBL just because of the name recognition. Personally, I love LBL. I don't think it's scary at all. I know there's supposed to be a lot of, everybody that talks about LBL, you would think there's a booger or a dog man behind every tree. I love LBL. Been there a bunch. This is a great spot. This is going to be a really good meet and greet. Right now, we're up to a little over 70 people. It'll probably pick up a little bit more right before the meet and greet, but about 100 people would be perfect for the size of this area. If you can come, there's still room, completely free. There's going to be a bunch of big name people in the Bigfoot world and a bunch of people talking. We're going to have a hell of a good time. House is going to cook. We're going to have a raffle, and we're just in general going to have a good time. We'll probably go live several times and just stream and everything. It's going to be really good. If you can make it, you should. All right. I'm done. Abby, talk about something.
If y'all want to even bring anything for the raffle, it can be anything. It doesn't have to be Bigfoot related. You can bring anything to the raffle.
Thank you,
Just
Abby.
like
Just like what? Keep going. Keep going.
just like it could be like a rock or something. It doesn't have to be anything.
I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to get
Could be
trying
a
to get
booger rock, couldn't it, baby?
booger rock and donate it. That's not going to happen. You have a booger rock. You bring it and you donate it at the raffle.
Yeah, see, that's one of her most prized possessions. We went to Coombo's and she got her own booger rock.
Kumbo is coming. House before the meet and greet. Talked it. What?
I hope he's coming.
Why? He said he was.
Well, I mean, who knows? He was telling me the other day he's afraid Sandy's going to kill him because they yet to go on a honeymoon.
They can make this their honeymoon. Either way, tell him whenever he comes, because we've already told everybody that he's coming. Tell him whenever he comes to bring a couple of booger rocks.
No doubt. Yeah, that'd go over pretty good. Me and Abby's going to bring some cool stuff, ain't we?
Sure.
Yes, a lot of.
If I was your husband, I'd hope you'd give me away and let me go be with somebody else. I mean,
oh, mate.
Oh, Pyro said he's probably going to sit this one out. The
Mm.
Hanobia Festival is that weekend. It's 900 miles closer.
Yeah, the 900 miles, the 900 miles has been a determining factor.
Yeah, that'd be a major thing. And I'd love to go to Honubby and see. I just want to go to Monster Mart, but I'd love to go to Honubby.
I mean, I'm just going to throw this down, though, about that. You know, the people there ain't going to be near as cool as we're.
I was getting ready to say, Pyro, you went to the last one. You met all of us, and you've been to the Honubby Festival before. You know damn good and well that we are way more fun than that is.
Yep.
900 miles is a big deciding factor, but we're way funner.
Abby, you want to tell him right there what about me and you last year in the shooting house about the limbs and
Abby,
stuff?
go into detail about it. In fact, Greg, set up the story and tell everybody like what was going on, then she can explain her view.
All right. Well, if we can get her to quit rocking back and forth in my recliner,
I know you're going to make my bells palsy.
She's making me seasick. So anyway, no, even like last year. I'll tell you what. Let's go back further than that. Was that 3 years ago when we were here for New Year's, and we got to. Remember when we had that booger, got outside and got to stinking so bad and smelt it inside? Remember how bad that smelled? Yeah. It was bad, wasn't it?
It made my eyes water.
Yeah, smelled horrible. We had to get you.
Describe it, Abby. Describe it. What did it smell like?
it smelled like very like sour smell to it, kind of. But
Kind of
like,
smelled like sewage or poop, didn't it? Kind of
yeah, it just smelled like sweat
body odor,
almost.
didn't it?
Like BO?
Yeah, like bad, bad. Yeah, it honestly, like what she just said, especially when we opened the door to step out on the porch, it would absolutely burn your eyes. It smelled so bad. It wasn't me. It may have been her mama. I'm not sure. It may have been her. But last year when we were, was it last year, year before, all this stuff. Abby and I were in a shooting house, elevated shooting platform, and we were sitting there, and we got to hearing some grunts and huffs and growls, and then we got to hearing limbs break, didn't we?
Yeah, it was crazy. And then like we heard like a big branch being ripped off, and then it hit the ground. It was a big branch.
Tell them
It like
about we heard the branch snap and break, and you could hear it like it dropped and then stopped, and then it was several seconds before it finally hit the ground, wasn't it?
and then it's like I was on the floor, and you had your revolver in your hand. I was going to cry because I was afraid I was gonna die. It was scary.
Since Greg just mentioned it, let me say something that is, or it's kind of like inside baseball, right? Whenever you're around people that actually know what they're talking about for real with boogers. A lot of times when they break branches, I wouldn't be saying this if Greg hadn't just let the cat out of the bag, but a lot of times when they break branches, you hear the crack, 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 pop, but you don't hear it hit the ground. Then a lot of times later, you'll hear like a thud where they throw it down. But it's really interesting because when it happens natural, when a tree falls or a branch breaks, you hear pop, boom, and it hits the ground. When boogers do it, a lot of times it's like they're holding the branch. You hear crack, crack, pop, but you don't hear the thud where it hits the ground. And since he already brought it up, might as well go ahead and say, if you hear that, good chance that's a booger. But now everybody on YouTube is going to be talking about that as one of the key insights of why they know it was booger. And that's why we don't always say all that kind of stuff publicly. Anyway, that is a really good point, though. And that's how you know. That's one of those things where you know people were telling the truth.
Yeah, Abby asked me that day in the shooting house. She said, "Daddy, is that a Bigfoot?" I said, "Yes, ma'am. That's what it is." She said, "Is it gonna get us?" I said, "Baby, I'm not gonna let that thing get you. It ain't gonna hurt you. You got scared, didn't you, baby? A little bit."
I don't
started
blame you, Abby.
shaking.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the first time. It happened a couple of days later too.
Well, the next day we was there, and remember they got to whistling at us.
Yeah.
Abby, how did the whistle sound, Abby?
Kind of a high pitch whistle. But it was like didn't sound like it was coming from like a person.
Did it go up and down, or was it the same tone?
Kind of up and down.
Was it really shrill? Was it really loud? Like kind of it was a tone that hurt your ears?
A little, yeah.
I've had them do it both ways here. Sometimes they'll do it. It'd just be a monotone, and I've had them go up and down.
I would say that most of the time, going from other people, not my experience, the only ones I've ever heard are the monotone. But I would say most of the time that most people report it being just a single tone. But everybody describes, and it was the same with mine, it's a kind of shrill pitch and it's a little bit longer, but it's a powerful whistle. It's a, and it's just a streak, and it's kind of hurtful to your ears because of the tone of it.
Yeah. Well, she's when Coonbo left out of here a month or so back, he saw that one across my driveway. I called Wanda and Abby, and I was like, I called Wanda. Abby was in there with her. I was like, you ain't gonna believe what Coonbo just had happen. And I told Wanda, and she's like, get across the driveway. I'm like, yeah. And I could hear Abby in the background going, when am I gonna get to see one? I can never see one.
Hey, you think you feel bad about that, Abby? I know your dad. You live with your dad, but I know your dad. Your dad's had a bunch of experiences. Here I am going all across 8 states, all over the East, and the best look I've got is just like fleeting glimpses of something here and there, or a stump that was there and then the stump was gone. I ain't ever seen one like your dad, where it actually walked and you could see it and go, hey, that's a booger.
I wish her and Wanda could see one, Colt. I mean, they've been right here on top of us. I mean,
that right there. Yes, like screeching brakes before that. Yes, it's it doesn't sound like the screeching brakes, but it's got that high pitched tone, and it cuts right through you. And it's a very direct, abrupt thing, at least in my experience, and that's what a lot of other people describe.
Yep.
Speaking of which, all y'all making comments. Hey, there's an open link show.
Yeah.
Pine Thicket got the pine beetles bad. The boogers were pushing them over. Most were still half green. Pretty sure they were eating the beetles that got shook out of the ground. That's really interesting. It doesn't surprise me. It makes sense.
Well, I can tell you.
If y'all want to jump on the show, keep talking, Greg. I'm posting link again.
The same field that Abby and I were in when that was happening with her. A few years ago or before that, I was in there, and we'd had in the fall in Alabama, we get our fall tornado season. Yeah. And we'd had some bad storms come through. And like after the storms, like 2 days later, I was over there in a ladder stand, and it was right at dark. And look, we'd had some terrible weather. We hadn't really had a tornado, but we'd had severe thunderstorms, 50, 60 mile an hour winds. So if there was a dead tree around, it should have blew over. I mean, if it was something going to fall, it should have failed. Well, I was in there, and late that evening, right before dark, probably 20 minutes before dark, across the field in front of me, it's about 150 yards, and it sounded like maybe 50 yards on the end of the woods. I hear a tree go to cracking and popping and cracking and popping, and then it finally, you hear the thing just pow, and you hear it like going through the other treetops, and that thing hits the ground. This tree sounded like it was big as a power pole. I mean, it was a massive tree, and all the sounds with timber falling. I hear this thing hit the ground, it crashes, and it sounded like a dead tree, because it sounded like when it hit, like it just busted in a bunch of pieces. Well, I thought, I'm sitting here thinking, it's awful quiet this evening. It's really still. There was no wind blowing. Like I said, we'd had all these storms just a couple of days before that. Well, I'm sitting there and say, like, if I'm sitting and looking straight ahead, that tree fell at like my, say, 1 o'clock, maybe 2 o'clock. I'm sitting here going, it's just odd that tree fell. Was it just hung up in another tree? And I'm thinking, well, no, I could hear it crack, and you hear, and then boom, and then down it went, and crashed. It wasn't 10 minutes. It was not 10 minutes from that one that fell at my 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, go over here at about 11 o'clock. So like it's that far from where this one fell. If I'd walk through the woods to where the next one starts doing the same exact thing, falls, crashes, sound like you was repeating the exact sound I just heard 5-10 minutes before that. There's another one false. And I'm going, now that, no, we had all them storms. What's the odds that just all naturally, there's 2 trees get apparently pushed over and fall, big trees in this same field, and we just had these storms 2 days ago, and then nothing happens, and then these things they fall within 2 or say 10 minutes.
Ray, the fact that it was hit while she was alone is interesting. There's all kinds of stuff that we could go into talking about. People that have them on their property, and like whenever the husband leaves, it's like they feel safe to come up to the house. That's really interesting. I wonder if she would be willing to talk about that.
Yeah, that's well noted a lot of times on, especially if women are at home alone. I mean, we've had a lot of them that's
I don't know what the
of boogers. They'll increase their activity. If a man comes there, most of the time they're not doing much. But as soon as they leave,
the camping thing, like I will tell you right now, Debbie Jones, but Debbie Porch, Sisters of the Moon. I've only been out with them one time, but I've known them for years, and I know that all of their stuff is legit. And I think the reason that they have so much interaction is because it's a group of all females. And there are other people that I don't know that are groups of all females, and I watch their shows, and they have a lot of the similar things. And boogers, for whatever reason, seem to be more curious, more like to put on a display, but not necessarily be aggressive with groups of all females. And in my mind, I can't prove it, but in my mind, I think there's very much correlation between all females and the boogers feel more comfortable, and the boogers will come in if they're in that area, and they'll be more active and everything. Never had any kind of definite encounters. Hold on. Hey, David Sigler. This is my first time on the chat. Never had any kind of definite encounters. I live about, I don't know what that means. There's all kinds of people, brother, that have had stuff happen, but didn't realize or didn't put 2 and 2 together and, realize, hey, that might be boogers. And then again, also at the same time, there are people that are in areas where the boogers just don't move through and everything. We're not saying that everything is Bigfoot. Mm-hmm. I am saying that a lot of stuff that Bigfoot does, though, goes unnoticed by a bunch of people because a lot of people aren't into the Bigfoot subject and just not paying attention, or, or they go, a branch just got broke, a tree fell, and that whistle was a bird, and that knock was somebody building a fence or some shit like that, and they just don't even associate any of it with boogers. But hey, on this channel, we're not trying to prove boogers. We're just trying to talk about them, and I mean, we know that they're real. We're just trying to get people to talk about them so we can compare notes on the experiences. Thanks for joining, though, and thanks for commenting.
Yeah, just to be honest with you, I put up with these things for the better part of 3 years before 2 years probably before I really put it together what was going on. I mean, we was just having a lot of stuff go on, and I kept trying to figure out what it was, why it was happening. And then the more I dove into it and started trying to research, it was, I couldn't figure it out. And then once I did kind of figure out what it was, I couldn't believe it. And even though I started having many, many, many encounters, I couldn't see one. So then I still couldn't believe it. But when I finally saw one, all doubt was gone.
Carl, if you still have that 24 hours later, you might have ruptured something and got the fluid in the ears and in the eardrum messed up, if you still have an echo sound 24 hours later,
Yeah.
Normally it doesn't take that long to go away. Then again, I mean, nobody is exactly sure where what's called tinnitus, where tinnitus comes from, and a lot of people say that it comes from repeated loud sounds, and at some point it just pops off and you get tinnitus. I don't know. If you still have it tomorrow, you might want to go get that checked, brother. Hey, by the way, everybody, I don't know if anybody needs thoughts and prayers. I know one person, I don't want to say his name because they didn't say it publicly. But one person is having, a person that I know personally is a really great guy, is having problems with his vision. His vision is starting to go to some degree, and he's very, very concerned about that. I imagine we all would be, but everybody, even if you don't know the person in particular, whenever you pray, just say a prayer for everybody that we know. And I mean, everybody's extended family in this, as far as I'm concerned, unless you give us a reason not to be, but everybody is family. And I mean, just pray for everyone. And in the Bible, it talks about loving your brother no matter what they've done. Hate the sin, not the sinner, and try not to be judgmental. And just there are people in our community that need prayers. There are people in our community that won't tell you when they have something wrong. So I mean, just kind of make an open prayer for everybody, I guess, is what I'm saying. Roger, you can get your ass on here. The link is
Jump in here, Roger.
In the chat a couple times. Let's do it again.
We at least need a few minutes Squatch and Holler update.
Katie G just said 15 more minutes. If Katie G gets on here, I will be amazed.
I got faith in her. She's going to pull it off. She's doing it.
She might do it, but you know what? I don't have her damn pictures ready not to go on this. She sent me her pictures. Y'all, she's got some pictures of a hay rolls out in the field, bales that are in the round roll out in the field. And I tell you what, I'm not a big person on pictures. I swear there's something in those things.
Really?
Yeah, they're pretty good. And she's like, I can't tell, and she doesn't want to, come out and show everybody because she doesn't want nobody to make fun of her. But I mean, hell, at some point you got to put the stuff out there and just say to hell with everybody. I think there's something in them.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. This group right here is the last place somebody's going to make fun of you.
Yeah.
The last place. And look, we don't even, if you put a picture up, and here's, and I'm going to use this fella for example. I'm going to use it for example because I know what kind of man he is, and I know how great a guy he is, and I think the absolute world of him. And I'm going to call his name right here.
Me?
No, not you. Well, you're few notches down. But I'm gonna talk about Brother Ken, Brother Flat Rock. Flat Rock show you pictures. And if you look them pictures and you tell him, say, Ken, brother, look, I mean, I wasn't there. This is what you saw. I wasn't there in the picture. I'm just not seeing it. This, I could explain this off. What's Ken going to say? He's like, well, okay. I mean, it's just a picture. I just want to show it to you. He don't get offended. He don't get hurt. But there again, we're 100%. I'll never say nothing to hurt Ken's feelings or I'm not going to lie to him.
Right.
And he's okay with that. But that's the way it ought to be. Not belittle somebody and make fun of them or whatever. And look, do I believe Ken has got boogers? 100,000% sure.
1,000%.
Yes.
Hey, Mike, Long Island Bigfoot. Hold on. We actually Mike Long Island Bigfoot was willing to come on. So Mike.
Hey.
There you are. How you doing?
I'm all right. I just I don't have long. I just figured I'd pop in and say hi because I don't think I've ever done that, and I saw you had the open link, so.
No, yeah. I mean, I think probably everybody that watches our channel knows you and knows who you are.
Mhm.
You're one of those people that's kind of synonymous in the Bigfoot world. I've never reached out to you and tried to schedule a show. I probably should, but I get busy, man. You know how it is.
It's all right. Don't worry about it. Yeah. It's all right.
How are you doing, though? Everything
I'm
good?
good. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. Thank you. Thank you for jumping on. Anything pertinent that you want to talk about?
No. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty I could dive into, but I mean, I've been flying a little below the radar lately. There's as you know, there's a lot of people out there doing a lot of things, and I've been in the public eye for so long, and now I think there's so many people out there and like putting their stuff out. So more or less,
Yeah.
I'm in a state where I'm just like trying to help like individuals along. You know what I mean? Like, and just and letting people come to me, and you know what I mean. I'm still putting stuff out, but not like I was. You know, I'm just.
If you first of all, tell everybody the YouTube handle for your show.
I think it's Bigfoot Sasquatch, but it's it's Long Island Bigfoot if you want to find it.
Yes.
But yeah. I live in a place where like I live in one of those places where like they're not supposed to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like the Suburban Sasquatch. So like, it's a very misunderstood location because it's like populated, right? It's populated with humans. So you would think they wouldn't be here, which I didn't think. I wasn't expecting it, you know what I mean? But I just felt like it was my duty to like put it out there, and when I did, so many people started coming to me with their encounters and opening up to because like when I started coming around, like it was in the beginning, it was like everybody said they had to be like way out in the middle of nowhere, and
right.
they have to be, but really there's no data, like there's zero data showing that, honestly. I mean, otherwise nobody would ever see one. You know what I mean? So they really are like butted up against our homes and whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like otherwise crossing our trails, whatever the case may be, otherwise we wouldn't be seeing them.
I found your first encounter, and whenever you started talking publicly about it, you're a veteran, and you were going out in the woods and taking walks and kind of dealing with the PTSD and everything. Yep. And I found your first encounter very believable and very intriguing. I will say, the whole being set in Long Island thing, it made me think too, what are the chances of that? Now, I've seen some of your other stuff where you're like, I see something there, and dude, I'm trying to see something in the video. The white face thing, I'm trying. But your story, your encounters, your experiences, the way you explain it all, very, very impressive. If anybody watching this show, if you've not seen Mike's channel, go check out Long Island Bigfoot 100%. And at some point, Mike, if it's okay with you, at some point we'll get you on here and maybe let you go through the whole thing. I know it gets tiring going from the beginning all over again.
I'm used to it.
You know what it's like, though. I mean, every time you go on a new channel, they're like, tell us from the beginning.
I've gotten picky. I'm not gonna lie. I've gotten picky about it. Like, and I know it sounds bad, but I used to just go anywhere and everywhere and just, willy nilly. Yeah. But now I kind of started vetting people and because it's just like there's a lot of. If you don't agree like 100%, then it's like you know how it goes, right? I don't want to get into it and like and go deep into it because then somebody's gonna get offended, right? But like if people don't agree, they'll argue or just bash one another or whatever the case may be, and I don't think that should be the case, like because we just don't know. Like I don't know anything.
There are no experts. And it's kind of like politics. You can have a different view than I do, but when you get to the point where you're just hating and name calling and just bashing the other person, it's like, who's more wrong here? You may, it doesn't we don't have to get to the point where we are just publicly shaming people and pointing fingers and trying to poke holes and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we can all get along and we can all learn from each other. And until the whole community gets more along the lines of that, personally, I don't think we're going to get any further than what we've gotten. We have to start listening to everybody and weighing what everybody says and not just prejudging people.
Well,
I mean,
yeah, especially in different areas. Like, I don't think anything's the same in any, different, there's different family groups. And to me personally, I think it boils down to even culture. Like, I think they have cultures and different, like, personalities and stuff. And, like, so I don't think they act the same. So if somebody has a completely different spin, I'm not going to be like, oh, over there in South Carolina or over there in California. Yeah, no, it's totally not the same, right? Because what do I know? I've never been there. And that's my biggest thing right now is I love to travel. That's why I got to get the details on the LBL thing, because at one point I might have never went there, but now I'm like, I want to see these different places for myself and like put my eyes on them, like.
LBL is a good place. I mean, especially if you're on the East Coast, you should definitely, at some point in your life, you should go to LBL. It's a highly active area, especially October, November, December. It's a highly active area. I would also say a little bit further north, a little bit closer to you, the bottom part of Daniel Boone, the very southern part of Daniel Boone Forest.
Okay.
Especially around the Stearns, Kentucky area, extremely active. They're a little bit, I don't want to say aggressive, but they're a little bit more belligerent, maybe. And there is a lot.
Yeah, I call it bold. I say bold. I say they're more bold in this area. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's certain areas when somebody, like, depending who I have with me that wants to go somewhere, I pick what location I take them to, because they might be more bold in one area. They might be more, gentle. They might not show themselves, period. And we could just kind of walk around and look at things that are, squatchy, right? Like teepee structures and things, right? Like things like that. And, so I get your drift totally. But, at my stage, like I'm in the middle, like I camp solo, like in the middle of nowhere. Like, I don't care if somebody's like, oh, it's a hot spot, I just go and I just put my tent there and I just hang out,
Yeah, you're insane.
Spencer, post that link again so Katie can get on. I just saw
post the link again. All right, hold on. Oh, yeah. See, normally Squirrel is here doing this.
All right, Abby, you want to tell everybody bye and jump and chat with them and let us get Katie in here?
Yeah.
Oh, I could get going. Don't worry about it. I gotta run in Target anyway. I just wanted to pop in and say hi.
Man, no problem. Thanks, Mike. I'll reach out to you and message you, and if you want to do like a whole show, I mean,
we'll talk more. Yeah,
we'll talk about it.
I'll get you on my side too. We'll get you we'll get the traffic.
Yeah, I know. That's how it goes.
Guys.
All right,
I'll
have a good day.
Soon. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Bye.
All right, Abby, go live it up in chat with everybody.
Vic Burton.
You said Aunt Verby was in there today. She's in there.
Or Verby, rather. Yeah, I said Vic. I'm sorry. I'm all over the place today. Shut up. I can't believe you did it. Hello, Katie.
Finally, Katie's in here with us.
How you doing? I'm pulled over, so I'm in my car.
As long as you ain't got some day with blue lights behind you, you'd be good.
No, I'm at home, but my husband's got company in the house. They're talking, being loud, so I figured I'd sit out in the car.
Well, you always got those grandbabies and everyone over at your house.
One day I don't, but I just come from being with the grandbaby, so.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, there ain't no excuse. I come in, I am one flaming hot white mess right now. I've been out in the yard with rocks, but I figured I'd get on. Here I am.
Well,
Katie,
proud
have you ever, hold on. Have you ever done a show before?
One time I did a show for Carrie Arnold back
Did
in
you
about
really?
October, into September, October of 2020.
wow.
I didn't think you'd done any show before. I mean, I've talked to you for years. You're very reclusive. You don't come out a lot and talk about everything you've seen. And I was telling everybody while you were driving, whenever you said you got about 15 more minutes to go, I've seen some of your pictures. You sent them to me, and I don't have them ready. You got to do all kinds of things to get them formatted to put them up here. But at some point, with your permission, I'll show everybody live while we're doing it, because I think there's something there behind those hay bales. But for everybody that doesn't know, would you briefly describe what happened and what all you experienced?
On that particular occasion of the pictures, or
You can start from the beginning. If you want to talk about the whole thing, you can, or just on those pictures. Either way.
I mean, really, if you'll start back, kind of what got you into this? I mean, first encounter, what? I'd love to hear it all. Whatever you want to tell us, I'm listening.
Well, I kind of fell into it backwards. Most people might hear about something and decide to research on their own, and still maybe looking to have an encounter.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was 9 years old, we were up, my family and I and some of my mother's friends, her colleagues, were up in the Uwharrie National Forest up in Baden, around Baden Lake, and we were hiking out there. Now, this was back in 1982. I was 9 years old, just a couple months shy of turning 10, and I was the only kid in the group. And there's about maybe 6 or 8 adults total. And a little backstory on that was there was, maybe some people have heard of the Hardaway site.
Yep.
And my mother used to go out there with people. And my mother is an anthropologist. And she'd take people out there and show them where people were digging, illegally, of course, but still they would be digging. It looked like a war zone. But you could find pieces of engraved slate. And she had a theory about that, but that's a whole new different story. But she'd went out with some colleagues and we'd hiked around and about most of the morning, and it got about lunchtime. And we all had stopped to eat and had eaten. And I needed to use the restroom. So I told her, I need to step off. And I went back down towards the lake. Now, the property we were on was controlled by Alcoa. They had, I think, an aluminum plant out there or something. I think it's a power plant now. It may still be Alcoa. I don't know. But you weren't supposed to be out there. And they had little service roads for their trucks to run on tracks to, I guess, drive around. But, we avoided those. But I needed to go to the bathroom, so I went back down towards where there was a track because I knew there wasn't going to be nobody around that track. And I kind of cut through a couple of gullies. I didn't get too far from the adults. If it had been, just straight across the field, it might have been a football field and a half. But I got to where the slope of we were on a hill, a mountainside, cut down towards that track, and the end of that slope had been cut back. The dirt was cut back. It dropped off real sharp. And there was a little slope going up to the tree line. Well, I got to that tree line at the top of it, and I figured I'd found a good place to go to the bathroom. There wasn't likely to be nobody around. And I took care of business. And even before I finished and I pee-peed and I stood up, and before I looked around, I started feeling, I had a funny feeling just all of a sudden on me, like a weight, a pressure, something was in my head, something. And I looked up and down that little slope and that drop off and across that track, which might have been as wide as a vehicle. The rest of the hill was going down and there was more trees. And right there in the edge of that trees was, I don't know how to describe it, a being, a creature. I didn't have any concept of Bigfoot at that time. I had never heard of it. And it was big. The biggest thing I've ever seen, the biggest thing I've ever been close to. When I say big, the height of it, it didn't even occur to me. And I don't know if I could ever accurately gauge it because I was slightly looking down on it because it was down slope from me. But it was 2 men wide, 2 men deep, arms as big as my whole body, big around. It was covered in hair. Some places the hair was stuck together on its chest by a liquid or oily substance. Yeah, I could see the skin through it, and it was a dark grayish black. The hair itself was probably, it varied in length in places, but about a finger long, half a finger to a finger long. The hair itself was black, and it had a quality like it had almost like graphite or a dusty looking quality to it. It didn't diminish the color, it just kind of seemed to shine a little. It was immense. I couldn't process anything. Everything but my sight shut off. I don't recall hearing anything, smelling anything, being able to talk, and I was just stuck and fixed on it. Its face mostly. I got a glimpse of it from about, I didn't see knees, but I'm assuming about knee up. I didn't see lower legs or feet. It was standing there looking back at me. It had a nearly human face. The eyes were in the front. They weren't to the side. I didn't see ears. I saw its arms, its chest, its abdomen. I could see that it was male. And before anybody asks, overall, it wasn't much to write home about. But if you want to have a pissing contest, somebody's feelings might get hurt. It wasn't aroused. Its head, it didn't seem to have a neck. It just sat between its shoulders. Just straight down. There was more hair, and it was hair like mine, like Lord help it, mine, that hung down. That was the longer hair. Longer hair was probably a good 8 inches. It was all across the head. It started about, it had a little bit of a forehead showing, and the forehead was sloped. And the hair was all around and down on the shoulders and its back. And behind it, there was like a mass of, I'm not sure if it was hair piled up, but it was something, or maybe it was just the way it was built. It just looked like all of this was just one big lump of hair. And like I said, its face was more human, but also not human. Its nose just kind of, its nose came out between its brows, but I mean, it came out. There wasn't a lot of slope. It was broad and kind of flat, and its nose looked like it had been in a few boxing matches. Its face had little, I'm assuming, keloids places. The hair started, it had wide cheeks, but it didn't have, you see how a lot of people describe them as having big cheeks that stick out way to the side of their face. I don't recall it being that way. Now, it had big, rounded cheeks, and the hair started on that in the face, and it came down, and it was like it had a beard. It disguised most of its chin. Its chin was odd. I've never been able to describe how the chin area looked. I wouldn't call it prognathism, where its mouth protruded, but it seemed like just under the lip, the chin started back. It didn't have this boniness that I could tell through the hair. Its mouth, overall, its lips were thin, and it was just straight across. There was no bow, no shape, no kind of fullness to it. It didn't move. It didn't talk. It didn't make a sound. It didn't do anything. Its lips moved a little bit, like just a little bit of a wiggle in its lips. Its eyes were pure black. I don't seeing a bit of white in them. And they weren't teardrop shaped. They were shaped like human eyes. And it had a brow that went straight across, but nothing like that looked like eyebrows, like no curvature to anything like that. And it was just massive. It more than anything, its features, I remember noticing them, but it just, in my memory, just how massive it was. It was the biggest thing ever. I don't have the words. I don't have the means to describe how big it was, and how, thinking back, how did I not notice it? It wasn't a case of I didn't see it before there and I just didn't notice it. It had not been there because I had looked around to make sure there were no cars coming down the track or anything. And I was pinned down. I couldn't make a sound. I couldn't think. I remember strange things going on in my head. And this went on for a few seconds. And then I can't remember seeing it make movement, but it just seemed to back away. It just seemed to move back and just fade straight into the bushes and the brush and vines behind it.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it just seemed to just get swallowed up by them, just go right into them. And that's when that spell, whatever you want to say, over me broke. And I was coming around to my senses, and I tried to get away. I, made my way back to the adults. That's another long story, but, my mama didn't believe it.
Now that you told all those details, I did see your show with Carrie, which, God bless Carrie. Carrie, rest in peace. One of the greats of especially the YouTube genre. Carrie will never be replaced. I got 100 questions for you since you're on, and we get to actually ask the questions. But I'm not going to focus on the physical stuff, but I do have to ask you a couple things. On the eyes, were they slanted at all? Would you say they were almond shaped, or were they round?
They were somewhere in between. They weren't like a full almond shape, but they, like the humans, they were rounded towards the inner corner and tapered on the outside, but they were big. And for the size of its face, they were set kind of close together, closer to its nose.
How far away were you from it?
My best guesstimate is between 50 and 60 feet. And I'm looking slightly downhill at it.
Was it holding on to a tree? Was it just standing out in the open?
It was just standing there, arms straight down at its side. Its thumb, there was something weird about its thumb. The thumb it would have been its right thumb that I could see real good. And it was weird.
Further back than a human, like back here by the wrist area?
I guess, yeah. It seemed more built up in that area, like that part was broader, like the way our hands are broad across the bottom. That seemed to go further back. And the thumb was strange.
Whenever you talk about the brow, a lot of people describe the nose as being flat and wide and the brow really protruding. Could you tell a definite protrusion on the brow?
It was noticeable, but not so much. There was not like a flat space between.
Right.
There was not there. That was not there. It was a brow straight across.
So it was a ridge that stuck out all the way across its forehead.
More or less, yeah.
And whenever you say the forehead was sloped, how far back do you think it was sloped? I mean, we have fairly flat foreheads that just go up from our eyebrow ridges.
It started right just above the brow. There was only just a small section of where I could see skin, and there was hair coming down a little bit, and then the hair started. So it would be hard to say how much it sloped, but it sloped back from there.
What was the hair? Was it wavy? Was it curly? Was it flat and straight?
It was a little bit of both. It looked like it was kind of messed up in places, but the hair on the head itself was straight as it could be.
And the hair, did it go back? Did it go forward? Did it just fall all around its head?
Fell all around its head. There was no rhyme or reason to it.
Whenever you talk about the head sitting down on the chest, the trapezius muscles on the shoulders that go up, would you say that they went up like kind of halfway?
It looked like, from what I'm assuming was the top of the head, the mask, it just went straight down. Now there was a bit of shoulder that come out past that, but there was no like build up, like up and then up. It was just a hump.
Greg, that corresponds with a lot of stuff that you've said, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean what the ones I've seen, it's like they don't have, it ain't like you come over and then go up, just up for a neck. It's just like, goes from here sloping. It's just like a big arch. It's just like from the top of its head, just rounds over, and it's so massive coming down. I mean, it's just, I guess, like the bulge of the muscles here or whatever, but it don't come down to like here and then flatten out. No, it's just like, if you did the outline, it would just be like from the top, angle over, and then down for the shoulders.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Katie, by the way, your hands were shaking a couple times while you were talking about that.
Look,
I assume that you're reliving that, and that was a very vivid telling.
My hands was shaking a little bit too, because I saw it in Katie's face. I heard it in her voice. I could see her. She was stepped back into that place, and Katie, sister, I know what you're talking about, because if I go too deep into what's happened to me right over here about a mile, I go to reliving it, and I swear to the Lord, I'll have nightmares for 2 or 3 days. And that's we're talking over 10 years since I've had that happen. I'm a 6'1", 200-pound roughneck redneck. But I've had stuff right over here in these woods scare me to absolutely, I thought I was going to die. Yeah. And it's still, the trauma of what I lived through over here still affects me if I let it. And sometimes it's as simple as just thinking about it and dwelling on it and telling people about it. And girl, you don't know how much I appreciate you getting on here and talking about that, because I saw what you just talked about, and I promise you, I know exactly what you're feeling right now.
I've seen Greg talk about it and relive it, and I've seen Al start to talk about it, and they'll get shook up in person. So it's very appreciative that you came on and were even willing to discuss it.
Yes.
I gotta ask you though, I don't care about the physical description part. I mean, I've seen enough. I know that the damn things are real. I don't care about the physical description, but I am interested in, whenever you were looking at it and you realized, hey, there's a damn monster staring at me from 50, 60 feet away. Whenever you were talking about like the feeling that you had come over you where you couldn't do anything. And I imagine that that's probably the scariest part. Do you feel like it was something outside of you that had put a blanket on you? Or do you feel like it was just you were so scared you couldn't move, like maybe your brain shut down trying to understand what it was? Or do you think that that thing was actually influencing you to some degree?
Spencer, I've had time to think about that. Going back in the to describe it now. And I remember I'm having to go off a memory. And a memory that I suppressed for a long time, or didn't suppress, but wouldn't dwell in, because going through, I'm
don't doubt it.
I'm going to pay. I'm going to have nightmares.
Mm-hmm.
But thinking back on it, I didn't realize, like I said, before I even saw it, I felt an oppression, something come over me, a weight.
Katie, did it feel like the whole world was just mashing in like gloom and doom, and just something horrible is about to just like I know what you're talking about. I know exactly what
I felt like a static electric change in the air, like a buzz, like somebody hit a switch.
I don't recall feeling anything. I knew something was wrongness. You know, it's like just coming to a sudden realization there was wrong, something somewhere. And then when I locked eyes on it, everything went away. I mean, I didn't fully even process it till I couldn't see it anymore. It wasn't until after it was gone, and I don't know where it went. I just know I couldn't see it anymore.
Did you feel like you hadn't even breathed the whole encounter, like you hadn't took a breath?
I was not in my mind. I wasn't thinking 1 second, 2 second. I wasn't thinking 1, 2, 3 foot tall, 4, 10 foot tall. I remember thinking, trying to place it. If anything,
right.
Where does this fit in anything I know?
Anybody that's heard me talk about this when I first started talking about the first one I saw, I've told people it was like it's like my brain, like a computer. You see it like a computer doing a search where it's flopping pictures. It's like your brain is rolling through pictures of animals, blah, 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 like elephant, giraffe, blah, 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 and it don't never click because there's nothing to reference what you're looking at.
Exactly. But even then, that I judge the length of my encounter by how long I can go holding my breath without breathing and not blinking. And I make about 10, 12 seconds. And it ain't tried. It's not comfortable. I don't know exactly how long the encounter was, but I guesstimate at about 10 to 12 seconds. About 10 seconds. And in seconds, I didn't do anything but see it and take it in. And Spencer, you asked if I felt like it was something took my ability away, suppressed it. I have time to think. I mean, I started feeling the strangeness, the wrongness, and looked up and it just shut down. I don't all have time to even, you know.
Yeah.
But that being said, I know afterwards I felt all those things. I was scared, my own fear,
Sure.
But during that time, I don't think it was me because I didn't have time to react. I did not have time.
Do you know? Let's hold on. Pause. Make a point here for everybody that ever watches this show. If you've ever seen a Bigfoot witness get emotionally tore up, I'm telling you, that right there, she's emotional about it. The level of detail that she described in it, you don't just on the spot make up stuff like that. You don't fake stuff like that. And also, on a different level, this goes into all of the people that are extremely skeptical. I don't blame anybody for being skeptical, but the people that are extremely skeptical, they're like, why didn't you get a picture? Why didn't you scream and just turn around and run away? Me being in this field for a long time now and having heard a lot of people go over it and having seen some shit of my own, you don't have time to think about all that kind of stuff. If you had a phone in your pocket, the last thing that you're thinking about is getting the phone out and taking a picture. The screaming thing, that doesn't even process because you're sitting there looking at the damn thing going, what is that? And when you realize what it is, then it's really terrifying. Katie, that was a Class A description of an encounter That was a really, really, really good description of the encounter. We saw the emotion. I appreciate you actually going through the steps to describe that. I hope you don't have nightmares from it. That was a really good description of a typical encounter.
I'm just gonna throw it out that I feel so honored that Katie felt comfortable enough to come on here with us. And look, what y'all just heard her tell. Anybody that got to hear this and got to watch her, you need to count that as a blessing. Because you're hearing firsthand knowledge, and I'll bet everything I got right here, what that woman just told you, is as factual as she can tell.
No doubt, no doubt. I'd bet my house on it. I know it. And now that she told it, I remember hearing it on Carrie. I hate to say it, but it was because of the point where you walked away and had to pee. And I remember thinking to myself, whenever you're out there in the woods and you're using the bathroom, you're already looking for a private place and feeling vulnerable. And then to see something like that while you're doing it. Hey, on a different note, would you please tell everybody the pictures that you actually did take of the hay bales? Would you explain how that happened and what you thought while you were driving and seeing that?
Well, it's funny. A little bit of preface. When I was 9 years old and I saw this creature, and I had no place for it in the animal kingdom. I had no place for it in the human kingdom. So in my mind, it became a werewolf. And I've said I researched what it was for a long time, as best you can as a kid, and with school library, no internet, stuff like that. But what I was looking into was werewolves. It took me a long time to accept that it probably wasn't a werewolf. But now you want to know something about a werewolf? Ask me. But
no.
Yeah. I spent a good many years reading about werewolves because I thought for sure that I seen a werewolf, and at some point it spent at least part of its time as a man, and it could find me. Just kid logic. And
right.
I didn't. I told a couple of people it didn't go over well, and then I touched my mouth about it because number one, I didn't like talking about it, and number two, I believe that if I didn't tell its story, then secret, that he wouldn't come after me. But then I got older, wiser, and looked into more things and figured out, well, it probably wasn't a werewolf. And even to this day, I'm reluctant to say I saw a Bigfoot. If nothing else, I can say I didn't see his feet. It might not have had feet for all I know. But it's closest to what people describe as Bigfoot, Sasquatch. It's closest. And but I always avoided that memory talking about it after a certain point, because I felt like, for starters, when I talked about it or dwelled in it, thought I'd get the nightmares really bad. And not even just specifically that memory. If I would think to myself, I'm going to do something like go. Now, I've been camping, but usually it's in a nice structured campground, not a whole lot of real wilderness. But to go that's what we're going to be doing in Hollins. I've not done that ever. When I was going to come to the meet and freeze, I planned up to the last minute to come, but my nightmare got so bad I was waking up the entire house screaming and hollering, and I couldn't do it purely for the fact of how it was going to be. I've been through the LBL, stopped in it, but in my mind it was this wilderness, and I just couldn't do it. But I've always shuddered that memory, covered it up. And back in 2020, when I was ready to start talking about it, and I talked to Carrie, I've always told myself, don't mess in that. You're just going to cause yourself problems. You're going to be having nightmares. You're going to be paranoid. Well, I opened up and I went to Carrie's show and I talked about it. And within a month, I'm driving down the road to work, and I'm a nurse, and I worked at a facility up in Morganton, and I live in Shelby. And I drove up Highway 18 to work, and Highway 18's kind of rural. There's houses and stuff, but there's not shops and stores or restaurants. Two-way road, mostly pastures and orchards and fields. Well, I was coming along, going up to work the first Monday morning after daylight savings time, and it was a little brighter. That area I would drive through, a lot of times there were mists that hung around because there's a lot of trees and ponds. And it was just me coming down that stretch of road, and there's a field, and it's a big old field, 1.5, 2 football fields long, and at the end it had these rows of hay bales that were covered in tarps, and they were stacked, 2 on the bottom and 1 in the trough, and they went across the whole length of the end of the field at both ends, and in the very middle of it was a little patch of trees, just maybe 3 or 4 little trees. And I'm coming down the road, and I'm driving to work, just minding my own business, when out of the corner of my eye to my right, I see motion, just a lot of motion out of the little trees. And I glanced over that way, and when I glanced over, I could see low to the ground, black and long, moving. And at first, it was almost like an undulating movement. And at first, I thought I was seeing 2 bears, one kind of behind the other. And then it just smoothed out and became a streak. I could not make out any detail on it other than something low and black running straight towards those hay bales. And I'm watching it. And again, this is just over a second. So I'm watching it. What in the world? And it's getting closer to the hay bales. And I'm thinking, well, when it gets down to the hay bales, I'm going to see what it is, because it's going to have to stop and turn or jump up on them to go over them. It didn't. This thing stretched out wide, just like it went from being narrower to wider, and went over those hay bales like a centipede. It just oozed over the top of them. Well, my teeth about fell out my mouth, and I got panicky. I went on into work, which was about another 25, 30-minute drive from there. Went straight in and told them, said, I'm sick, I'm going home, because I was not right. And I went back out to my car, and I sat about 5 or 10 minutes trying to think how I was going to get home without passing by that place, because I had a pretty good idea in my head of what I had just seen. And then I got aggravated with myself, and I made myself go back home the way I had been going home. And let me tell you, that Highway 18 out through that part of Cleveland County and the other 2 or 3 counties it passes through, it gets pretty weird out there. I've seen other things. And I made myself stop on the way back. The sun had come up more. It was brighter. And I wanted to take pictures to show my husband, because the first thing I did when I got my wits about me was I called him squalling and hollering, and told me, he said, well, pull over. I said, I ain't stopping for nothing. And I stopped to take pictures of those hay bales to show him the area where it happened and what I meant by going over hay bales. And I was just shooting pictures through the windshield. I was not happy to be there. I took some pictures, and I went home. And my daughter was at my house that day, and I was talking to her about it, and she was looking at the pictures. Said, well, Mama, what is that thing in the picture? And I said, what thing in the picture? And she showed me. She had to show me, because I really hadn't looked hard at the picture. And there's a form in there looking over at me or in my direction. And I said, well, honey, I don't know. So then I got curious, and this was about 5 hours, 6 hours after it happened. I went back up there and took more pictures and didn't see nothing, and then just sat on them. That was in November of 2020. Because the first pictures I got with something in it, it was totally by accident. I had just stopped, turned back, and went alongside that field to take pictures of the hay bales, show my husband. That didn't see nothing at the time. I wasn't looking for anything at the time. most of the time, truthfully, like I said, it's home holding my camera, taking pictures through the window, looking back over my shoulder to make sure that I wasn't about to get run over in my truck. Wiped on the left hand.
Wow.
Come
So
back.
how far is that from was your house? I mean, I know you said it was 20 minutes to work, so it's probably not far from your house.
About 10 miles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like a centipede oozed over top of the hay bales. That's weird.
Spread out. It never got taller. It never slowed down. It was too light for it to have been a shadow from up above. It was too solid to have been a shadow, but it just spread out. It like doubled in width.
You know what it makes me think of, Spencer? It makes me
Robbie.
I've never see Rob that it makes me wonder. Like I've never saw one do it, but like Kumbo and them talk about one doing the spider crawl.
Yeah. Well,
that's what
if you can imagine something that can move like that with its arms and its legs out and get its belly, abdomen area flat to the ground. I mean, that's exactly what it sounds like a flying squirrel kind of thing, you know, where it just jumps up and spreads out wide and just scoots right across the. I can tell you this. Hold on. Oh, hold on. Bud, hey, try to get on again. We want to hear an update from Snellgrove.
Yeah.
Bud,
look, I mean, yeah, I mean,
Chris,
I'd love to hear from Bud too, but right now we got Katie on. I'm floored by Katie's deal, y'all. I mean,
then she saw it, and then she drives back by it again, goes all the way home, takes pictures, goes all the way home, then comes out hours later and takes pictures again. I've seen some of the pictures. I do okay with adjusting the pictures to see like the difference in the light and the black point and the contrast and everything like that. And looking at hers, and it's hard to base anything off of pictures. Video is way better. I keep saying everybody needs to take video. I know that's not the first thing on your mind. You're lucky to even get a picture, but I've seen some of hers, and it does look definitely. We'll post them. At some point, we'll do a show. She can come back on and comment if she wants to. I just don't want to make her relive any of this kind of stuff. Or we can put on Woodwalkers on the Facebook channel. But some of her pictures, it looks like there's something there on top and then kind of behind the hay bales. There's something. I don't know what it is, but there's something there. And if you listen to the way that she describes the situation, the experience, the way that it happened, it makes you, whatever it is, I can tell you this, it's big. It's as wide as 1.5 round hay bales, which are pretty big, but you can see what looks like shoulders and a head up above the hay bales. It's big.
Wow.
Hey.
Now, keep in mind, when I went back and took those pictures, it was about an hour after I had seen the thing ooze over it, because I had went into work about 25 minutes work. Sat there 5-10 minutes, talked myself into going back, then drove back about another 25 minutes. So it was every bit a good part of an hour since I had seen what I had originally seen. Felt safe. I wasn't.
Wow.
No.
And that whole area has changed within a few months after me seeing that. There were woods behind those hay bales, and they've cut those woods down. They've pulped them out, took pulpwood out of them, cut them down. They've removed the hay bales. All that's different now, but granted, it was more than 4 years ago.
Wow.
And you would have accelerated. I had all my effort in my right foot. And
Shut up, Ray.
Yeah, I bet you it was time for some skinny pedal action when all that happened.
Yes, skinny pedal. Mark Green, if you see this show, yes,
yeah.
Skinny pedal on the right-hand side.
I changed. I was driving my Subaru Outback at the time that morning. For the next 6 months that I went to work, I drove the WRX, and I made the WRX live up to every single one of its promises.
I bet. Hey, that's a badass car.
Wow. Well, Katie, I mean, I really, I can't even put it in words how glad I am that you felt comfortable enough to come on with us and share what you just did. Because I know, I know exactly what you're going through. And look, it took me a long time to get to where I could talk to anybody about it.
Yep.
But amazingly, once I did open up, it made it easier. It helped me a lot. And I got to realizing that there was people out there struggling with the same thing I was. And then if nothing else, by me stepping up and saying, hey, y'all, look, I didn't want to talk about this, but this is what happened. And I was afraid of the ridicule. I was afraid of people making fun of me. But I realized that I wasn't helping other folks. And there was other people out there that was in the same way I was. And at least I could do was reach out. And that's what we tried to do with Woodwalkers is make a safe place for people to not be ridiculed, people to not be made fun of. Because, I mean, it's life changing. I mean, you there's no other way to put it. Once you see these things and see they're real, your life has changed from that day forth.
Rose colored glasses are off.
Yep.
The day that I saw the one up in Uwari, I went back to my mother, stepfather, and I told her. She wasn't happy to hear it. She thought that I was making up stories. And I wanted to leave. I had got sick. I had puked on my shoes and was ready to go home. And, as a kid, when you have something traumatic or something that scares you, you go back to your parents and you feel a little better. I didn't. I never did. Getting back to the parents did not relieve me of knowing that there was something out there.
Right.
Well, I'll tell you, Katie, it was if you got back and once you finally felt back and like, hey, I'm at safety, I'm with them. And then if you got sick right then, guarantee you 100% that was probably an adrenaline dump.
Yep.
Because that's exactly what happened to me when I had one of my worst encounters. When I got back to the truck, Al met me as I'm coming out. We made it another 100 yards to the truck. Once I stuck my rifle in, it hit me and I got sick and I puked 3 times right there.
I got sick before I even started going back. I mean, as soon as
I got
back to myself, I just immediately got sick.
Wow.
And I remember having difficulty. The memory of getting back to where the adults were is fuzzy. I remember being beyond scared, past the point of scared of where you're just moving and doing, because I figured it was going to get me. I just had every assurity, everything
Katie, there would have been a lot of people would absolutely, no kidding, would have just fell over and passed out.
Thought I was going to. I could have. I think if I'd been old.
The physical similarities between high anxiety and an adrenaline dump correspond a lot with what scientists have documented as like infrasound. So it's really hard to tell if someone gets zapped by something outside of themselves. I mean, if you look at all the stuff in the Missing 411, which David Pilatus did put a good amount of effort in to saying, these people that are going out there and taking off their shoes and their clothes, or, and like finding them folded up. I mean, that's just damn weird. But the infrasound thing, it goes along with a lot of the high emotion adrenaline kind of thing, which we have ample documentation about all that kind of stuff. You can't definitively say, did somebody get hit with infrasound or was it emotional? They're both so close. You know what I'm saying? The adrenaline dump thing is, 1000% factual.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I can't account for other people and what they've experienced. Their experience is their experience, and I believe them 100%. But I feel like this thing was in my head.
That's saying something, though. I mean, if you think that, what do you think they are? You saw one, then you had the other weird ass experience, but what do you think they are?
I think there's something between two places. I think that they can be corporeal in this world, in the real world.
Right.
Go between. I believe that they have abilities that we can't comprehend, that we can't.
So do I.
Bring up like this happens because they have this, they can do this, but it all links up. There's definitely missing links. I believe that they can go between places. I believe that they can be invisible. I believe they can exist in a vibration, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
But they can fall through, come out, get out of sync, and come through into our plane and go back, either by choice, by accident. That's what I've come to believe.
I almost 1000% think the exact same way that you described it. I tend to think that they can do it on purpose and at will. I think they're physical. I just think that they have abilities, skills that we don't understand and we misinterpret them. Since you're down there in North Carolina, and I've been to Uwharrie a bunch, I got to say I've never been really impressed with Uwharrie. And the layout of the land is weird. Like for a national forest to have all the homes that are right there and the stores and everything, it's weird. But have you ever seen the Brown Mountain Lights?
Sure. When I was young and when I was a kid.
Did you actually see the lights? You actually saw them?
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Do you think it's something natural that's misunderstood, or do you think it's something supernatural?
I think it's a place where power exchange happens. Something happens.
It's weird.
It's not normal, but not quite paranormal, you know? It's another thing we don't understand and don't have the ability to understand currently. It's another one of them, you know, you see.
Brett Nips had a real good question. If it was in your head, was it some kind of mind speak or telepathy? What do you think? Just your opinion of it.
It was communicating something to me, but it wasn't in like words, as in like the English language or any language. It felt like, in retrospect, the best way to describe it is it taking something from me and at the same time putting something back.
That's weird.
It was images, but not images of things I can understand or interpret.
Wow.
That is so creepy.
Yeah.
It's in my head. And I don't know. I know that I don't know what it was trying to accomplish, get, exchange. I don't know. I do know that if I hadn't quit when it did, I probably would have died because I thought I was going to die right then and there.
Did you feel like it drew something out of you? Like it was drawing energy, your soul?
No, not like that. Information.
Really?
Yeah. If I could call it anything, it would be information experience. What do you think about this? What I think about it, or if I could put it to anything, if I could put it in words, it wasn't trying to kill me. I don't think. Not trying to. I don't know. I mean, these are decisions I've come to about just thinking about it. At the time, I just knew I felt weird, didn't feel right for years after. There have been times when I believe I've been near something, when I'll have like a washed up feeling, like I can't call it a weakness, but it's like a change in my awareness. And I boogity, I'm gone. I don't want to experience again. And it's similar to that.
Would you say that you think yourself personally, do you think that you're more empathetic, psychic, able to pick up on energy, emotions? How are you around your family? I mean, can you tell what your kids are thinking and feeling like even without them saying anything? Do you think there's a chance you're on an energy level that you pick up the vibes of everything more than a lot of people?
Well, I know there is. We all, myself and my daughters, my grandkids, we're all more attuned to each other and others. But that's been something that's been my way, been in my family for generations, for years. I mean, I can see a ghost could walk right by me right now, and I'd be like, "Hey, how you doing?" Because
have you ever seen a ghost?
Yeah, many a times.
Okay, so you're attuned to that kind of stuff. Did that come natural to you? Did you have a near-death experience? Were you hit by lightning? Were you always that way? Does it run in your family?
I've always been. I can't remember a time of not being, and being surrounded by people who were attuned to, for lack of a better term, the spirit world, seeing ghosts, experiencing ghosts, knowing things. I mean, the knowing things. I know things. Like, I don't know everything.
Did you experience, or you may still do it, especially as a child, did you have much deja vu?
All the time. I live feeling like deja vu day to day. I'll see something, I'll be like, well, that puts me in mind of this, or hear something, or I'll wake up knowing that something's coming around.
Do you see or just sense other people's auras, energy, and intention?
I do see auras, but it has to be a pitch black. I did not know I saw auras until I was an adult. We had went to Linville Caverns, a cavern tour, and they took us way in the back at the end of the tour. And if any of you have ever been, if you get to the end, they used to do it this way. When you got to the end, they get you in a big room, and they shut all the lights off for a few minutes. And it's reportedly pitch black, but except in that moment when they did that, I could see people's outlines all around me, and I'm freaking my husband and my friends out by going, "But you're right here, reaching out, touching them, and I can see you. You're right there."
Right.
And I was adult before I realized I was seeing auras.
Wow.
Now, I've never had a near-death experience. I got real sick a couple of times, and I remember being actually, ironically, shortly before I had the encounter. The winter before, I had gotten strep throat, and the doctor put me on a sulfa drug, and I was allergic to sulfa drug, so I got doubly sick. And I remember being super, super sick, so sick that voices just sounded like hums and buzzes around, and ended up going to the hospital. And everything and everybody looked blurred. And I remember...
I would kind of count that.
Well, I don't know, but I never felt like I left my body. I remember looking up, being, aware of where I was at, but just seeing all kinds of forms around me. There were people, I couldn't make out who they were, but everything was just a hum, a buzz. It seemed to be vibrating. And then, but now, after I had my encounter, probably about 2009, 8, 9, 10, somewhere in there, I was out picking my garden, and lightning run in on the walnut tree and come up through the ground and got me. But I never been directly hit.
Well,
that's still hit.
Yeah, that still counts.
Yeah.
The point being, if you got COVID, you build antibodies to COVID because your body is aware of it, attuned to it. Your body clues in on, oh, I shouldn't have said the C word. This thing probably get doxxed now or get knocked out on YouTube. But anyway, whenever you have something supernatural that happens to you, or you come close to death, personally, I think your body kind of develops like a, I don't know. It's like a immunology kind of thing where it's like it got close to it, got used to it, so now it's sensitive to it.
Mhm.
Now, if you come from a family of everybody that has always been sensitive to outside energies, frequencies, that's one thing. But I think the average person can be, excuse me, shocked back into seeing or being able to pick up on these outside energy things. As much as I think boogers are a flesh and blood thing, they got something else going on. They drain batteries. They do weird, creepy stuff. You can feel them. You can sense them. Some people talk about mind speak. I've got no experience in that area. But, I mean, they do weird stuff. I wish Squirrel was on here to talk to you about all the hoodoo witchy stuff, because I don't know how to describe it. Ray, if your ass would ever get on here, you could talk to her about it.
Yeah.
But anyway, point being, I think your body builds up like a, oh, we know what this is, and then it becomes sensitive to it and picks up on it, which goes into the area of the boogers are not 100% flesh and blood, or they're flesh and blood and they get extra bonus like abilities and things. Do you think that they know when you know? Do you think that in your experience you've had all kinds of weird stuff happen in life? Do you think that all this other stuff that's outside our spectrum knows that you know about it?
I think it's possible. That's a good way of looking at it. I've never really thought about it. I've had things happen after I've done something unwittingly, taken, like we've all talked about shofars.
Yeah.
Well, come find out I had a shofar. Didn't know I had a shofar, but had a shofar.
Don't mess with the damn shofars.
I sent that shofar to Debbie.
That's the last person you should have sent it to.
Well, it didn't matter. About 2 days later, I poked around and found another one. Anyway, and I already had it. I didn't know. I had bought a lot of horn decor at an auction, and they were in there. And but that first one, when I found it, I'd had it. I'd stuck it in a box of things that's like, I don't know what you are, but you sure are pretty. I'm gonna keep you for a little bit. And I was going through that box and I found it, and I said, well, I'm gonna Google search this thing. I did, and it come back shofar, and I said, that ain't no shofar. It was short. It wasn't, I'm thinking shofars and big old rounded or spiraled horns. And well, it had a hole in both ends. And I said, well, shucks, I'm gonna try it. And my uncle taught us to blow a bugle when I was little. I stuck it up to my mouth and I blew, and it squawked. And that shocked me because I did not expect it to squawk on my first attempt. So I laid it down, and I was like, I done went and blew a shofar. Now, I don't know much about them. I don't know about what they're supposed to, specifics or anything. But I said, I don't, I had seen Mr. Baker's post or his show with Mark and Larry.
Yeah.
And that happened, and I stuck it away, and I walked away from it. And I said, you done went messing. You done it now. And sure enough, about a week later, I come out on my front porch, and I heard, for the first time ever, one of those owl calls. It sounded like the owl was the size of a human. It was just
really?
Yeah, and it was not. It sounded cut off, like it wasn't like an owl. It sounded. If it was
right, no trill. Did it just go hoo hoo hoo?
Yes, exactly. I thought, thinking back on it, I thought, well, if it was an owl, it had a speech impediment because it was just didn't sound right. But it was such a big sound. I have never heard
right
a big sound. And I thought to myself, Lord Almighty, that owl sounds like it's about as big as about that time it hit me. I said, oh, Lord, that's what everybody's talking about. Let me tell you about tore my screen door slam off the house trying to get back inside. And because I'm going to tell you, I've been in unwitting research moments, but I'm a coward. I'm yell up the back and I scram. when I get that feeling, when that washed over feeling, when I hear or see something, I've been out, I've seen tracks. I've seen so many tracks I can't count them all. Part tracks, full tracks. I turn the other way. I go back the way I came unless they're coming towards me. Then I go the other way. I'm a coward, so I don't research. I don't
Shut up, Haywood.
look into them. I try to avoid them, but they sure do find me, or I find them. But as far as them,
Do they find you? Do they find you?
I believe they do. I mean, but I think after that happened, I feel like me blowing on that shofar or making that noise brought that, because I've never heard anything like it or near it. I think they're aware in a way.
If you blew on the shofar and it made you think, now I've done it, now I'm calling these things in. If you're giving off that kind of energy, and I know this is getting way out there, people, before everybody starts getting on me, but hear me out. If in your mind, if you're able to vibrate, do a frequency, whatever, in that world, that all these things are in that world. If you go, oh no, now I've done it, I've rang the doorbell, I've called them, and then something happens, is it because you blew the shofar, or is it because you are putting off that energy and you're going, uh-oh, I did it, I brought this in? Because it could go either way. You see what I'm saying? It's really hard to get a direct read on all this stuff. It could be anything. It could be you. It could be any of us. If you're open to it, if you're putting it out there, do they pick up on it and then they come to you?
Katie, what I was going to say, just like Misty coming here, I'm not kidding. The last time she got here, she wasn't here. We didn't got the stuff out of her vehicle. It sounded like he was at the primate exhibit at the damn zoo in Birmingham, Alabama, right out here in the woods. It couldn't have been 75 yards. I mean, they lit up and having a fit and monkey sound. It wasn't owls making monkeys. No. If it was, it sounded like there was 4 or 5 of them and they weighed 300, 400 pounds a piece. But it was like as soon as she got here, like, hey, there's Misty, y'all. I mean, I cannot explain it. I have no words for it.
Well, I don't know. It's not a conscious thing that I would do.
Yeah.
Lord knows I go through life trying not to be in their paths.
Yeah. But now, I'll tell you this. I mean, these things were belligerent to me. I mean, they were belligerent to me. Alan, my buddy that's in here, George White, they were belligerent to him. My dad, I mean, they'd act crazy to us. I mean, they just would. And when I accidentally made peace with them down there, and I simply did that by sheer accident, I was just trying to elicit a response. I was tired of being harassed and them scaring the crap out of me all the time. And I was fixing to call that one's bluff, because I thought if it steps out and it wants to go to another level on all this, I was sick and tired of it. I was tired of them, doing what they were doing to us. And I was like, okay, we're going to throw the gloves down and it's fixing to go bad. This thing's going to come out and it's either going to get me or I'm fixing to try my damnedest to kill it. And when I raised my head back and I whooped, W-H-O-O-P, whooped as long and loud as I could, it was like you had a mute button on that thing. It went from grumbling and huffing and growling to just blip. And then it was just like sheer disgust, just like you gave somebody bad news, and just like a disgruntled old man went, huh. And it was like it just got quiet for a second. And it was like you could hear it turn around and it started walking away. And from that day forth, they quit being belligerent. They quit throwing stuff at us. They quit, just coming in and bluff. I hadn't been bluff charged since then. Not one time. And, I've been through that crap several times. That's horrific. especially when you're over there by yourself and you have one of these things bluff charge you and it sounds like a bulldozer breaking trees running at you. Look, yeah, that's as traumatic as it gets. I'll swear to you. But you know, it's like, but there again, it was almost like they were going, well, the gig's up. We ain't got him fooled anymore. He's figured us out. He knows what we are. Crap, this ain't gonna work on him anymore. And they absolutely, like, it just totally changed the dynamics of what I was dealing with. But honestly, it's like these things it's almost like you've been marked, like they know that you know. And I know that sounds weird. It sounds crazy, especially the people that don't believe. They think that's just stupid. But I'm telling you, I'm not the only person that's dealt with these things that feels that way.
I've never thought hard on it, but it almost like they want you to acknowledge them. If you are, or as Spencer said, putting off that vibe,
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if they come out and want you to acknowledge them. I mean, makes me think of Brer Rabbit and the Tar. Are they saying, I said hey to you, are you going to say hey back to me? Well, if you don't, I'm going to punch you in the face,
Yeah.
It makes me wonder just now thinking. Because for me,
whenever you see a deer,
I'm looking at one right now, but okay.
Cool.
Whenever you see a deer or a squirrel or a bunny or anything, if you drive along the road and you see a damn cow, if you stop, you wave at it, it sees you, a deer, a squirrel, whatever, it's going to scurry off. It's going to go the other way. These things, for whatever reason, it's like when Greg, your man cave, you had the experiences over here, then you build the man cave. They come over there, they're knocking on the man cave, they're snatching the damn oil out of the cauldron and eating the potatoes out of the yard and all that kind of stuff. It's like they know when you know, and they let you know, hey, I mean, if these things, and again, this is going out there on a limb, I'm not saying that it is, nobody knows, but if they're Nephilim, let's say they're Nephilim. In the Bible, it talks about the Nephilim being banished, being cursed, right? If they're half demonic, no matter which way you cut it, if you're paying attention to these things, are they attracted to you because they pick up on the whole, hey, you're calling them on some kind of different level? Now, if they're just flesh and blood, if they've only got X amount of hearing and smell and all that kind of stuff, then it makes sense that if you leave gifts for them and they come through and they're grabbing a jar of peanut butter, they're like, hey, thank you, and maybe they do something. But if they're on a spiritual level, a different dimension, some kind of energy, dimensional, spiritual thing that we don't understand, if you're thinking about them, if you're interacting, if you're calling them, it makes sense that they some way, somehow pick up on it, and they know when you know, and they start showing themselves more. It's like what Ray just said. Thoughts and intentions have frequency and change the current of your energy. I don't know if that's how it works, and I'm willing to overlook it because Ray said it, and screw Ray. She's a pain in my ass all the time. But
she can get you.
I know it. But is that how this stuff works? And more to the point, if that is how this stuff works, if it is, then all the people that are just thinking flesh and blood, all the people that think this is a undiscovered North American ape of some kind, they are really missing out. I think everybody has to be more open-minded to all this kind of stuff, because the more you go along with it, the weirder it gets. When they knock on the roof or the side of the house or the tent, and they always hit where your head is, how are they doing that? They know exactly where you are inside something. Are they seeing your energy? Are they seeing a signature, seeing your aura? This stuff gets weirder and weirder the more you think about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of, and there again, like I've told people,
Hey, Cowboy.
every time I thought that I had the answer to a question, that answer that I thought I had made 10 more questions.
Yep.
I mean, it's wild. It is wild. But all right, here's all I can say. I hope and pray, and I don't know what we're gonna have to do to beg and plead. But Katie, please, you got to come back on here with us again.
I will.
Awesome.
I will.
Awesome. And look, Squirrel, when you watch this, you have missed out so bad. So bad.
Yes.
Maybe
Yes.
if you'll quit playing hooky and get back on here with us, we'll get Katie on and maybe she can tell us about some of her ghost stories.
Oh,
That'd be cool.
Oh, Katie can go into the ghost stuff and the witchy hoodoo stuff. And that shit creeps me out more than the booger. Not as much as Dogman, but more than the boogers.
And for those of y'all that don't know, the reason Misty ain't here, she is playing hooky over in the deep dark woods. She's somewhere in the Smoky Mountains camping with her sister Caitlin. So
they seem to do some things exactly the same way over and over again, and then they seem to change other things to see if you're paying attention to it, especially glyphs and tree structures. Dave.
But seriously, I mean, but Katie, are you're gonna try to actually come to Talladega?
It's my plan. Yes, sir. I'm gonna be
there. Awesome. Look, here's the deal.
Katie, I hope you come.
I'm gonna throw this out there for everybody, and this is my personal opinion. Look, you may have an encounter, you may hear something, it may not nothing happen, but here's the deal: as far as safety is concerned, for me, I'm taking my baby girl. And look, my wife's going, I'm going. But look, that beautiful little girl of mine that was on here a while ago, I'm taking her. And if I thought it was dangerous, I wouldn't have her nowhere down there.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a bunch of us, adults. Look, as far as safety, I've got no problem with taking my pride and joy, my child. So.
Well, I never go where I feel like it's going to be unsafe.
Yeah.
It's as far as a boogery area goes, it's as safe as like anywhere else that you would go that could possibly have boogers. The amount of people that will be there that actually know what's going on and would be prepared to do something is going to be very, very high. I can tell you it's a really good spot for something to happen as far as vocalizations, knocks, stuff like that. I really don't think anything would happen that's on the dangerous end. If it was, it's not an aggressive area, in my opinion. There are certain spots I've been to where I wouldn't have a meet and greet because if people go out 300-400 yards away from everybody, you're liable to have something happen that is not going to be like friendly. It's not one of those places, but I do think it's a very active area. And especially with 70 or 100 people around, if everybody is just there in camp, ain't nothing going to happen to everybody that just stays there in the main area. You know what I'm saying? But it's a good area to come and just hang out, and maybe you hear stuff, or, you know, other people come back and say, hey, I just had a sighting, or, I mean, Parker was leaving feathers and the feathers got moved. Stuff like that is really interesting, even without, you know, people having a sighting or one run through camp or anything like that. It's a good spot. It's a really active area. And besides, Greg's going to cook, and Greg cooks really well. And I'm going to be there. So, you know, everything's going to be super fun and cool. And Misty will be there, and she'll bore everyone with talks about pointing out like plants and shit like that. I can say that because she's not on here right now. She'll give me hell later. But
hopefully, look, we got to get our itinerary. We're gonna actually have an itinerary. Yeah, we're gonna have the raffle. We're gonna have
we do have to have an itinerary this time.
We're gonna get some folks and look, y'all. I mean, it was really cool. Like at the LBL when they handed the microphone, let people go around and talk about their experience and stuff. That's great. You know, we'll try to line up some different folks to speak and maybe do some if people's got questions. You know, if somebody's got questions about stuff that's happened to me, all I got to do is ask. I don't care. I'll sit down right there in front of everybody and they can ask me what they want to. So,
Katie, do you see that? Have you ever been at the Cowpens National Battlefield in South Carolina? Does she think there are big boogers there?
I used to go. I've been several times to the actual national battlefield. My grandsons race hair scramble races on. One rides a 4-wheeler dirt bike, and they have several races in that area at farms. And I'm gonna tell you, it feels boogery. It does. I worry about them times.
Yeah. Well, guys, I mean it's Katie. I mean, once again, I'm gonna just repeat myself. I am so proud that you came on with us, and I just want to really thank you for stepping out and doing and coming on.
It only took a year and a half of me. Don't turn your head sideways. You know it's true. It only took a year and a half of me like going, why don't you come on just for a little while? We'll make it easy.
Well,
and then she does it. Then she does it abruptly, and I don't have all the pictures and everything ready.
I always keep you guessing. Well, it's time. I don't talk a lot about my encounter. To me, if I step outside of it, which I can do, it's not that impressive. You know, it's almost.
You are fucking wrong on that. You're wrong on that. The way you tell it.
She didn't stay outside of it a while ago though. I saw her. I know.
That's right.
Katie, I felt it. I know exactly what you're talking about.
That's one of the best descriptions of a booger encounter we've ever had on the show or I've ever seen. That was emotional and it was detailed and it was spot on accurate. That was really, really good.
The basic of what happened. I just tell what happened.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was. I mean,
yeah.
And the creature never displayed any kind of reaction towards me. It never growled or swayed or moved. Nothing.
Right.
Katie, it's amazing. And what one thing you touched on, it's hard for me to explain to people when you see a creature, being, whatever we'll call it. But when you see the bicep part of its arm and it's this big around.
That's what I mean when I say the bigness. I mean,
yeah.
I could.
Yeah, I can't. No, it's not. It's like this big. It looks like its bicep looks like a trash can nearly. I mean, it's like when you tell people what was 8 foot, 9 foot tall, they're thinking, okay, well, you know, that's pretty tall. And they're thinking about one of those like Shaquille O'Neal or one of them other guys that stretched out. It's like, no. Ain't even close. It's like taking a Brahma bull and standing it up.
Yeah. Except
the Brahma bull's got arms this big around.
Exactly.
Right.
The height of it never, how tall it was about the last thing on my mind. The size of it. Mm-hmm. The incredible,
just
mind-blowing size of it.
Mm-hmm.
Not in height, I mean in girth. It I can't wrap my mind around it.
Mm-mm. Nope.
It's incredible.
Katie G, was it you? I helped out with some knowledge years ago with the female and your son.
No, sir, I don't have any sons.
Okay.
I don't know.
Anyway, y'all, hey, Well, look, an unexpected impromptu show turned into this 130 some people watching live. Katie, that was so awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Can't say thank you enough. But you got to come back on at some point and just have like a lighthearted thing with like Squirrel, and we'll talk about ghosts or something like that. I know that was traumatic for you going back through it. I do appreciate it. More importantly, if anybody watches this, they'll probably get something out of it. It was important. The details were great. It was obviously a very factual, real thing, but it was a good interview experience. The way that you described it, I think we covered a lot of good stuff in the overall conversation. Thank you. Please come to the meet and greet. Please come back on the show and do it again. Other people are going to have more questions. Now you're going to have people reaching out to you and wanting to ask you like detailed questions and all that stuff on Facebook. But thank you. You saved the show, and that was awesome.
Yeah. Hey, look, when we get off, stay on for a few minutes and go backstage with us.
All right. I will.
Craig said, excellent show. Don't have nightmares. I know. I agree.
Yeah.
Best.
Anytime you go through that kind of stuff and you got to go back in your memory and relive it, though, it's prone to bring out some stuff like that. You can't help it.
Yeah. Well, once again, I mean, in the comments, Katie, everybody, overwhelming support from all these folks in chat. And look, chat almost froze when she got to telling that. I mean, you had pretty much everybody's undivided attention. So, yeah.
The chat, the whole stream has froze several times, 5-6 times. And it's like it pauses for 5 or 6 seconds and then restarts. I don't know what the deal is.
Yeah. Like I said, folks, hey,
thank you, Derby.
We usually forget to even ask, or we forget to mention it. But y'all, look, if y'all ain't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Give us a like. Tell your friends about them. Share us to somebody. It's going to cost you absolutely zero. But, you know, it'll help support our channel.
Thanks, Al. Al, at some point, you got to talk about the one that was behind the propane tank. Come on now. At some point, you got to.
He'll get ready. He'll get ready one of these days when he's ready. Maybe some of these folks, if they come.
And in between now and then. Well, that's fine.
I'll say this. It takes you a long time to figure out, to know how to communicate it. It's a lot of processing.
I can tell y'all this. One of the things that Katie absolutely took the words straight out of Alan's mouth is he's talking about how the thing's nose was like a boxer. He just pounded its nose. He said it's like its nose was just mashed out.
Broad.
Yeah.
It looked like it'd been whooped on.
Yep.
Next time you're back on here, I'm going to ask you about it going backwards and just fading into the background. Did it disappear? Did it go into a different portal? Did it just walk through the bushes? And did it mess with your mind and maybe you like just didn't pay attention to it while it was disappearing? I meant to ask you that, but I forgot.
All right. I don't go through a portal. It just kind of faded out.
Faded out. Did it shimmer
and
fade out?
Got darker. And just kind of, whereas I couldn't see the bushes behind it when it was all there, I could see the bushes coming through it. I started seeing the bushes instead of it. And it just got darker till it was gone. It never got smaller, it just got darker.
Wow.
That's weird, though. That could go a lot of ways. Anyway.
Cool. Well, y'all,
all right.
thank you everybody for
Katie,
hanging out with us.
Do what?
Just,
Hang on backstage. Greg was saying thanks to everybody
Yeah.
for hanging out with us. We
Alrighty.
keep freezing up. I don't know what's going on.
oh. Big love, everybody.
Y'all there?
Bye bye, everybody.
Spencer's hung up again.
Thank you
Okay.
for
Everything, I don't know. It keeps freezing at different times. See y'all next week. Thank you. Thank you, Katie. Awesome. Love y'all. Everybody take care.
Squirrel.
Hey, y'all. Hey, Spencer. We're swapped
Hello,
around.
Huh?
We're swapped around again. Hold on.
Yep. I know you do it on purpose.